Hello and welcome. My name is Alan and we are back with more in the Buddha's words. This we will finish up the introduction to the newest chapter we started here. What was it? Chapter 6? 5. 5? I thought it was 6 already. Okay. Anyway, with that said, let's get into this. The third realm of existence, material form, is non existent and bare mental processes exist. Hence, it is called the formless realm. This realm consists of 4 planes, which are the objective counterparts of the 4 formless meditative attainments, after which they are named the base of the infinity of space, the base of the infinity of consciousness, and the base of nothingness, and the base of neither perception nor non-perception. The lifespans ascribed to these realms are respectively 20,000, 40,000, 60,000, 84,000 great eons. For Buddhist cosmology, existence in every realm being the product of a karma with a finite potency is necessarily impermanent. Beings take rebirth into a realm appropriate for their karma or deeds, experience the good or bad results, and then when the generative karma has spent its force, they pass away to take rebirth elsewhere as determined by still another karma that has found the opportunity to ripen. Hence the torments of hell as well as the joys of heaven, no matter how long they must last, are bound to pass. The Buddha guides those whose spiritual faculties are still tender to aspire to a human or heavenly rebirth, and teaches them the lines of conduct and conduce to the fulfillment of their aspirations. But he urges those with mature faculties to make a determined effort to put an end to the aimless wandering, or samsara, and teach the deathless nibbana, which transcends all conditioned planes of being. While the first 2 texts in this chapter establish a general correlation between karma and the spheres of rebirth, text 513 specifies the underlying karmic causes for the manifest differences in human life. It does so with reference to a well-known saying of the Buddha: beings are the owner of their karma, heirs of their karma. They originate from their karma, are bound to their karma, have the karma as their refuge. It is karma that distinguishes beings as inferior and superior. The Sutta proposes to explain this statement with regard to the 7 pairs of contrasting qualities observed among people. This text also introduces a distinction between 2 types of consequences that our unwholesome karma can have. The more powerful is rebirth in a bad destination. The other is unpleasant fruits within the human state. For example, a short lifespan for one who is in an earlier life killed living beings. An analogous distinction obtains among the consequences that a wholesome karma can have, the more powerful a rebirth in a heavenly world. The other is pleasant fruits within the human state. The next section deals with punya, wholesome karma capable of being favorable results within a cycle of rebirths. Merit produces mundane benefits such as a good rebirth, wealth, beauty, and success. It also serves as an enhancing condition for supermundane benefits, that is, for attaining the stages along the path of enlightenment. Hence, as seen in text 521, the Buddha urges his disciples to cultivate merit, referring to his own cultivation of merit over many previous lives as an example. The Nikayas concisely organized the types of merit into three bases of meritorious deeds. Punya kiri yavathu, giving, moral discipline, and meditation. Text 522 connects the bases of merit with the types of rebirth so they to which they can lead. The Indian religious context, the practice of meritorious deeds revolves around faith in certain objects regarded as sacred and spiritually empowering, capable of serving as a support for the acquisition of merit. For followers of the Buddha's teaching, these are the three jewels: the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Text 523 extols these as each supreme in its particular sphere. The Buddha is supreme among persons, the Dhamma among teachings, and the Sangha among religious communities. The text proposes an interesting twofold distinction of the Dhamma jewel. Among all conditioned things, Dhamma Sankhata, the Noble Eightfold Path, is supreme. Among all things conditioned or unconditioned, Dhamma Sankhata va Asankhata va Nibbana is supreme. Merely having confidence in the three jewels, that is, reverential trust and devotion toward them, is itself a basis of merit. But, as the verses attached to the sutta make clear, the Buddha and the Sangha additionally function as the recipients of gifts. In this row, they further enable donors to acquire merit, leading to the fulfillment of their virtuous wishes. More will be said about this aspect of merit just below. The following sections of this chapter elaborate on the three bases of merit individually, beginning in section 3 with giving or generosity, dana. The Buddha often treated such as the most rudimentary virtue of the spiritual life, for giving serves the breakdown of egocentric frame of mind on the basis of which we habitually interact with others. Contrary to what a Western reader might expect, however, giving for early Buddhism does not mean simply philanthropic charity directed toward the poor and disadvantaged. While it includes this, the practice of giving has a more context-specific meaning rooted in the social structure of Indian religiosity. In India, during the Buddha's time, those who sought to fathom the deepest truths and existence and attain release from the round of rebirth and death usually renounced home and family, relinquished their secure place in the cohesive Indian social order, and adopted the precarious life of an Indian wanderer. With shaved heads or matted locks, clad in ochre and white robes, or going naked, they would move from place to place without fixed abode, except during the 3 months of the rainy season, when they would settle in simple huts, caves, or other lodgings. Such homeless wanderers, known as samanas or ascetics, or paribhajakas, wanderers, did not perform any remunerative services, but depended upon the charity of householders and their livelihood. The lay devotees provided them with the maternal requisites, robes, food, lodgings, and medicines, doing so in the confidence that such services were a source of merit that would help them advance a few steps further in the direction of final emancipation. When the Buddha appeared on the scene, he adopted this mode of life for himself. Once he commenced his work as a spiritual teacher, he established his Sangha on the same principle. The bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, the monks and nuns, would depend on the charity of others for their material support and would reciprocate by offering their donors the more precious gift of the Dhamma, the teaching of the lofty path that leads to happiness, peace, and final liberation. Text 535 testifies to this principle of mutual support by accepting the gifts of lay people. The monastics give them the opportunity to acquire merit. Since the volume of merit generated by the act of giving is considered to be proportional to the worthiness of the recipient, when the recipients are the Buddha and those following in his footsteps, the merit becomes immeasurable. For this reason, the Savak Sangha, the spiritual community of noble disciples, is called the unsurpassed field of merit for the world. Anuttaram Punyaketam Lokasa. Gifts to the Sangha, it is said, conduce to great blessings. They lead to one's welfare and happiness for a long time and can bring rebirth in the heavenly worlds. But as text 536 reminds us, this is true only for the morally pure, not the immoral. This leads to the next base of merit, moral discipline, sila, which for early Buddhism requires the undertaking of precepts. The most basic moral guidelines inculcated by the Nikayas were the 5 precepts, the training rules to abstain from taking life, stealing, sexual misconduct, false speech, and the use of intoxicants. They are mentioned in text 541, which, by an interesting twist in terminology, speaks of them as pristine, traditional, ancient gifts, thus implicitly subsuming Sila under Dana. The reason the observance of precepts is a form of giving is because one who undertakes precepts will be giving to immeasurable beings freedom from fear, hostility, and oppression, and as a karmic consequence, he himself will enjoy immeasurable freedom from fear, hostility, and oppression. While the Buddha enjoins observance of the 5 precepts upon lay followers as a full-time obligation, he recommends a more stringent type of moral practice for the Upasatha, the observance days delivered by the lunar calendar, the full moon day, the new moon day, the 2 half-moon days. Of the 4 in Buddhist countries today, it is the full moon day that is given priority. On these occasions, devout lay Buddhists undertake 8 precepts, the usual 5, but with the third changed to complete sexual abstinence, augmented by 3 other precepts that emulate the training rules of a novice monk or nun. The 8 precepts enumerated in text 542 augment the training in Sila as a moral observance with a training in self-restraint, simplicity, and contentment. In this respect, they prepare the discipline for their training of the mind undertaken in the practice of meditation, the 3rd base of merit. The practice of meditation is not only the heart of the path of liberation, but a source of merit in its own right. Wholesome meditation practices, even those that do not directly lead to insight, help to purify the grosser levels of mental defilement and uncover deeper dimensions of the mind's potential purity and radiance. Text 551 declares that the type of meditation that is most fruitful for the production of mundane merit is the development of loving kindness. Metabhavana, the practice of loving kindness, however, is only one among a set of 4 meditations called the Divine Abodes. Brahma Vihara, or immeasurable states, Apamanya. The development of loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, and equanimity, which are to be extended boundlessly to all sentient beings. Briefly, loving kindness, metta, is the wish for the welfare and happiness of all beings. Compassion, karuna, the feeling of empathy for all those afflicted with suffering. Altruistic joy, mudita, the feeling of happiness at the success and good fortune of others. And equanimity, upekkha, a balanced reaction to joy and misery which protects one from an emotional agitation. These meditations are said to be the means to rebirth in the Brahma world, as per text 552. While the Brahmins regard the Brahma world as the highest attainment, for the Buddha, it is just one exalted sphere of rebirth. The concentration arisen from these meditations, however, can also be used as the basis for cultivating the wisdom of insight, and insight culminates in liberation. Text 553 3, the last selection of this chapter, thus grades the different types of merit according to their fruits, from giving, with the various kinds of gifts ranked according to the spiritual status of the recipients, through the going for refuge, and the 5 precepts to the meditation in on loving kindness. Then at the very end it declares that the most fruitful deed among them all is the perception of impermanence. The perception of impermanence, however, belongs to a different order. It is so fruitful not because it yields pleasant mundane results within the round of reverse, but because it leads to the wisdom of insights that cuts the chains of bondage and brings the realization of complete emancipation, nibbana. But that ends the introduction. So yeah, we have a look at what's going to be in the chapter. And what to expect. Oh, goodness. But we'll go ahead and end this chapter there. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.